Well, good morning, everybody. Today is April 11th, 2020. It is actually my birthday today, funny enough, and nobody's here to celebrate with me. I don't know why nobody came to my party. That's weird. But today is also the day between Jesus' death and resurrection when his body lay in the tomb. I thought about taping myself for 3 minutes, just lying under some blankets silently, but first of all, that wouldn't make for a great devotional video, and second of all, let's be real, 3 minutes of silence from me, that's a resurrection level miracle. This is a day that we don't often think about, right? We're usually just out busy buying ham and pastel clothing for tomorrow, but what was Jesus doing on Saturday? And what should we be doing on this Saturday? All that Luke says is that after Jesus was buried in the tomb, the women who were with him went home to prepare spices. Then in Luke 23:56, it says, on the Sabbath, they rested according to the commandment. Now, these women waited until Sunday morning to put the spices and ointments on Jesus because by law, they weren't allowed to do it on the Sabbath, which was their day of rest. You remember back in Genesis, after God creates the world in 6 days, what happens on the seventh day? He rests. Why? Because God was tired. He needed a Gatorade and a nap, right? I mean, after, creating a planet. But no, God doesn't tire. God was showing humanity that he knows when to say it's enough. He said, it's good. I've done enough. And he instituted this rhythm for his people, this Sabbath rest that would take place each Saturday. He said, I want you to take 1 day a week to stop working and rest. I want you to know that my love for you is not based on what you do, but on who I am. And so then you fast forward back to Good Friday. What did Jesus say on the cross? He said, it is finished. Once again, God knew when to say it was enough. And just like his work at initial creation was sufficient, now again, his work to renew creation, to once again give life where there was no life, was also sufficient, paid in full, finished. He wanted to show, once again, that his love for us is not based on what we do, our good works, but on what Christ did for us on the cross and who he is in us, that he's our righteousness. He's the reason God can accept us and say, it is good. And on the seventh day, once again, God rested. Now, in the story, we often rush from Friday to Sunday, right? Jesus died. Jesus lives, right? He is risen indeed. We know the story, and those of us growing up in church have seen it on flannel graphs since before we were potty training. But let's put ourselves in the shoes of Jesus' followers for a moment. They didn't know what was coming. They weren't like, oh, sweet, Jesus is just going to be gone for the weekend, and then we can have Easter with him. Now, yeah, on many occasions he told them, I will die, and 3 days later, after suffering, I'll rise. But they didn't really understand, right? If only they were smarter and had more faith like us. In a sense, we are all living our lives on that awkward Saturday, as I've heard it been called before. We're living in a hard season today, aren't we? We have no light at the end of this corona tunnel that we know of. We don't know how long this is going to go. We know there's another resurrection to come. We know there's hope beyond viruses, beyond graves. But just like those disciples, we don't know when. And so on this awkward Saturday, I want to invite you to sit and wait. Two things. Number one, to rest in the beautiful words, it is finished. That God knew when to say it was good. It was enough. How would you finish the following sentence? God loves me because... I know I often would say, well, because I try to impress him with all the awesome things that I do. He says, no, my love for you is not based on what you do, but on who I am. And do you believe that? On this Saturday, are you resting in that? Number two, invite you to audaciously believe that there is a resurrection coming, a hope beyond the grave. And in the words of the famous theologian Ariel, I don't know when, but I know how. Let's rest and hope. And when the anxious world around us asks why we dare to hope, as Peter said, let's be ready to give a reason for the hope that's in us. The reason, as we will celebrate tomorrow, is because he lives. I love you guys. Look forward to celebrating the risen Jesus tomorrow. But today, let's rest, sit, and wait together.